You're at Gangrene UK. You joined us for episode 41. We're doing a game review of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. I'm joined by James, Otis, Kane, and the new boy, Scott. Welcome along for joining us, guys. A couple of days on. How are we all feeling? Otis, I'm going to go at you first because you leant forward.
I thought it was... I don't know. I'm not sure it was quite as close as it seemed in some respects. However, there was improvements made by the team. It could have been a whole lot worse than it was. But I actually think the closeness of the scoreline flattered us a little bit in some respects.
Yeah. What about you, Scott? Welcome along. Your first video with us.
No, thank you very much. Again, a lot of positives, especially over the performances over the last few weeks, could even say months. It was certainly against an opposition like the Bucs as well. Certainly feel like there was a mass improvement. I don't know whether if it was a bit of us winding up the Bucs that got onto the Antonio wagon, should we say, for him to get up to where he was, but that's a different story. And again, I think we kind of probably, if we have to really be fussy, is obviously what happened with the last minute, 30 seconds, if it has to be, letting ourselves down, especially within the run of play and literally having the game in the bag, and then to throw it all away how it did. It's a bit disheartening in a way, but then, you know, if you probably said at the start of the game how we played against a Bucs team, you know, I'll take that, really.
What about you, Kane?
I think we played well. We played well to lead at the half as well, which was nice once. Just threw it away at the end, basically.
You feeling the same, James?
Yeah, pretty much. Probably one of the better all-round performances all year. Just a real shame, and the call to sneak it on 4th and 2, which kind of sealed our fate, because you give Tom Brady that much time, you're going to lose, really, aren't you? So it was, don't really know where that came from, but pretty good game in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them, isn't it, where we've been saying all year, if we're in it and we only just lose it, we're fine with that, as long as people improve. I'm going to beat you to it today. Very us. Yeah, there's a lot of talking points from the game. We normally obviously move through, we do defense, offense, stuff like that. I think we've got to talk defense to start with. And then after this little bit, I do have a question for you, so we're going to take a bit of a vote. But defensive players, James, anybody you want to give a shout out, think played well?
Two shout outs, really. I think Mosley had a pretty good game, just all over the field, and Eccles, the pick of Brady was pretty awesome. So yeah, good performance.
No, fair. Kane, what about you?
Michael Carter and Eccles.
Michael Carter, 1 or 2?
Cornerback.
Yeah,
they played well.
Scott, any for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been massively criticising our defensive line for sure all season, I'd say. So I think looking back at that performance on Sunday, I think, you know, you have to give your dues to everyone across the pitch. I think you know, it's just basically based on the principles of the facts of, even I've given it stick as well, how poor we have been, and probably, you know, if I was to review the whole season, that is an area where fundamentally needs to be worked on most. So my credit goes to the whole line as such.
Yep. What about you, Otis?
Sorry, were you after positives or negatives?
You can go either, mate.
A bit of a mix then, okay. Fatakasi, I thought, played really well, along with Mosley and Runstop. Both fantastic. Both did a good job. I think pressure from the line, for me, wasn't anywhere near good enough. Nathan Shepherd was the best of the line with 2 pressures, both quarterback hits, but that's the best out of any of the linemen. The other player that I think we've all sung his praises repeatedly this season, and he had an absolute disaster, was Bryce Hall. He was targeted 12 times, allowed 6 first downs and a touchdown. He was absolutely awful, which it's a shame. It wasn't the game to have a bad game in, but given everyone else stepping up a little bit in the secondary, it was a surprise to see Bryce let us down.
Yeah, it's a funny one with Bryce because his box score doesn't show targets, and his box score looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you actually drill down, you were right, because he was the one that I was expecting somebody to give a positive out, because it's Bryce Hall. He's been getting a lot. Yep. But another one on Nate Shepherd, he only actually got credited with 1 QB hit.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, one of them got flagged back, I think.
Oh, okay. Well,
he did break through.
Yeah, he was the only person to register 2 all game, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, defensively
is awful.
Defensively, they looked better.
They look more solid, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I have major concerns about Elijah Riley, because a lot of people give an Ashton Davis stick, and we can, because when Ashton Davis makes a mistake, it's normally a belter. It's normally because he's going full pelt. But Elijah Riley, I genuinely think he needs to borrow my glasses, because
it's just awful.
He's so out of sync. It's like he doesn't have hand-eye coordination, because he can see the ball, it's there, and he'll dive out the way to tackle somebody. You're like, what are you doing? Come on.
That play is awful on Riley as well.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
And it's complete breakdown, not just of the play, but of the whole scheme. He's supposed to be playing deep half on that side, which means any man that comes into that deep quadrant behind the corner is his. And he seems to let him get all the way to the end zone before he even realizes he's there. And it's like, hang on a minute, mate, that's your entire zone. It's the second he come into that area, you should have been over him, over him everywhere.
Yeah, I was talking about this in a chat with somebody yesterday, and they were like, they were saying I would bring him back, and I was like, maybe to camp, maybe. And that's only if I'm drafting a safety and I want to challenge him with somebody who's got a bit of experience. But I would practice squad him at best. What about Quincy Williams? Because obviously a couple of weeks ago he was smashing around the field, putting up double-digit tackles. Last couple of weeks he's been less effective, but I think he's been a little bit more mature in the way he's playing. He's been stuffing quite well, which is what he was struggling with early on in the season. Just an interesting one I wanted to ask you guys about.
I think he was less exposed because of Leonard Fournette not being there. I think if you'd have had Fournette at back instead of Jones and the other guy they played, I can't think if they played otherwise, I think he'd been more exposed, but he did okay.
Yeah, I mean, he was only up against Keyshawn Vaughn, Ronald Jones, and then Le'Veon Bell, which, yeah, let's face it, Le'Veon did not have the comeback he wanted against us.
Nope.
Still made some annoyingly big plays there.
But you say that, right? But totally, he only had 35 yards in the whole game.
I see.
So it's not. His
average was
okay,
wasn't
was
it?
15 yards.
Yeah, and he had a decent average, didn't he? I think.
10 yards on receiving and 1.7 on rushing, which is better than what he had when he was at the Jets. All in all, defensively, scheme-wise, how do we see, because obviously we've only got one game left, have we noticed development? Have we noticed them getting used to it? Scott, what are you thinking?
See, this is the frustrating element I have. I kind of find with this season in particular is that we'll have one great game, and you think, oh, actually, things are happening here. This looks like we finally gelled, and then suddenly we'll then go on a run of, again, like you said, it's okay to lose. I'm all for that. It's fine as long as we put the points on there and we sort of play to the opposition's strengths as well as weaknesses, and that we finished sort of on par. But I feel, it's been sort of it's up and down. When things become good, for instance, the performance we had on Sunday, to then drive forward. Say if this was, to say, the third game within the season, I'd be very optimistic. I'd be like, wow, we've got potential and hope here. But it's just that I've sort of claimed it as the Jets' way, in terms of, I know that nevertheless the end of season on Sunday is, I feel like no matter if it was game 3 or the last game, it's very hard to tell how they're going to drive on from it. I feel like if this is happening game week 3, I feel like we'll drive and become more of a team, more of an opponent to other teams, I feel. But I think because it is the last game, I feel it's kind of like, well, not what's the point? But I just feel like it is almost like, okay, that's us done now. Let's just get this game out of the way and focus again on next season.
Yeah. How about you, Ken? How are you on it?
I think the linebackers are playing better positioned and everything, better on the run. Cornerbacks, like, obviously not Hall. Hall had a bit of a crap game. That's why I didn't mention him for once. And but Michael Carter and Eccles look good. Eccles got another pick, obviously, on Brady, which is a big thing. Safeties obviously weak as hell, and we need to upgrade that position, I think. But yeah, I don't think they can gel when they've got so many injuries and you don't have the constant starting player, do you? So
No.
Can't really gel and get to know the system together. If someone lets it down, then the whole thing just falls.
Yeah. James, Otis, are you guys just mirroring that? Or do you have anything different?
Yeah, similar to Scott. Just it's been inconsistent all year. I think last 5 games we had no run defense, and we held them to 60 on Sunday. So it's up and down. So yeah, all of that really.
I think the big thing with the defense is that the scheme, I think, is okay. I think the problem is keeping the players fit inside it and also having the personnel to operate the scheme. This is, I think, something that we do too often as Jets fans. We go, oh, is it the scheme? Well, it can't be the scheme for the last 4 coaches. Eventually it's got to be the players inside it. And I think there's a huge element of that. We've not seen enough from defensive ends this year. Certain defensive tackles haven't shown up like they should have done, which has left linebackers exposed, which has not helped corners. For the most part, I think the secondary's done a brilliant job. Safeties have been decimated by injury. I think if we had our starting safeties, the secondary would look a lot different. But the D-line's where the work needs to happen. The D-line's shambolic, really, for a Salah defense. The D-line's just not acceptable.
Yeah, I think looking at Salah's history and the way he likes to build and what he did in San Fran, I will not be surprised if DT is early in the draft, because I don't think he's going to go out and pay big money for a DT when he knows he's got Rankins, he knows he's got Fatakasi, he knows he's got Quinnen, but he wants somebody else that can rotate in. But I can see us doing an edge and move, like what we spoke about before, is with bringing JFM inside. And then that all of a sudden frees up a lot of different options. So defensively, I think we can summarize it by saying we saw some glaring weaknesses, but we also saw that actually when it came down to it, we can perform. It was offensively, we'll say, but before we go on offensive, Eccles getting his ball signed off Tom Brady, are we pro or negative? Scott, it's just pro or against? Scott? Kane?
Pro. Go on.
Otis?
Yeah, pro. It's fine.
James?
Nah.
Not for it.
Yeah.
because obviously he's been getting a lot of stick today over it happening. And I was like, well, I don't really blame him. But he's actually came out and he's commented saying, like, he never thought there would be a day that he was more proud of than the day he got drafted. And he went, but picking off the GOAT was something else. And when you think about it, that might be the last pick that he ever throws.
It could easily be, couldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, people are saying that if he wins it this year, he's done. And we all know Tom Brady can go 4 games without throwing a pick.
Or if he gets lit up in the first game of the playoffs, which is easily possible because they're going to be playing, that he might not even go more than 1 game, maybe 2.
Yeah.
You never know, do you?
Yeah, I'm all for it, but yeah, it was just interesting because there's a lot of Jets fans out there kicking right off at him.
Let's be honest, they're all fans first, right? That these kids have grown up watching him and others play.
I think it worked out that Eccles was born in his junior or senior year at Michigan.
Yeah.
So he has only ever known an NFL with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
It's just cheeky. It's funny, cheeky, like.
Yeah, but Brady signed it and congratulated him. If he didn't want
good play is good play, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was a good play. I mean, it was a bad throw, and it got picked off, and he admits that. So brilliant. Yeah. So moving on to the offense, guys. Do you want to start with outfield offense, or do we want to start with Zach?
Start with Zach.
Let's start with Zach. So Zach with the New York hair. What are we saying? We'll start with James.
Yeah, and I think just another really solid performance from him where he led the offense end to end. Really, I couldn't pick out many faults. I thought he made majority of the throws that he was asked to make, and still another game without an interception. So I'm very pleased. I think it's going well from the start of the season to now. I think we're looking good.
Scott, you the same or?
Yeah, really, pretty much the same. I mean, from day one, he's had his moments and wobbles. We can all be honest. We all probably had our doubts as well. But I think credit to him. He's held his head high. He's performed when he's had to, and he's proved the critics wrong. And I think obviously being his rookie year, it's going to be tough. And I think that's the whole league itself with rookie quarterbacks has shown that. So I think really it's time for now. Let's look at 2022 and really implement what we all know he can do and what he can achieve moving forward. So I'm really excited for 2022 to see how he sort of carries himself following on from his rookie season.
Kane, where are we at?
I think it was his best game so far, to be honest. How he commanded everything, like with so much missing his like 3 wide receivers, starting wide receivers, second running back, and then Carter goes out, Fant goes out, and he's missing Mackay in the centre and 2 starting tight ends. Like, to do that and run the system how he did with mainly backups, you can't complain, can you?
Well, some people are though. Otis, come on, give us some negatives.
So no, there's some interesting numbers from the performance. I think he graded out at about a 70 passing grade, which is a fairly decent grade on the day. But he only had 1 big play, and that I think is the big negative around it at the moment. There's a lot of Jets fans saying that he's not looking quite as dynamic as he was down the field. However, personally, I don't see that as a problem, particularly as Ken mentioned with a lot of the reserves playing. I actually think he's now doing what we all wanted, which is hitting the open man, hitting him in the numbers, giving him a chance to catch it, and let's see what happens. The one thing that I was concerned about when he sort of come in sort of 3 or 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in, was there was a bit of accuracy problems. It looks like he's sorted his accuracy problems out. Generally, he's hitting the receivers now where he needs to. With a bit more talent around him, I agree with Scott. I think 2022 is going to be very exciting. They just need to keep moving in the right direction, and they need to allow him to have those big plays. You don't want just 1 big play out of your quarterback, especially not when he's got the arm that Zach's got. 1 big play a game isn't really enough. But given the circumstances of the team we were playing and the players that were playing for us, it's not an issue.
That's kind of where I was thinking. I mean, there was a couple of nice plays like through really tight windows, but then you look at it and think, do I really want to throw it down deep for Jeff Smith to go up against anybody in the secondary of the Tampa Bay All-Stars?
That's the problem, isn't it?
I mean, Zach's numbers, people are saying, oh, well, he only threw for 234 yards, but we rushed for 150 or 160. Nobody's rushed on the number 3 rush defense that much in a game. At the end of the day, we played at what we knew was going to work. I think I've said it earlier on. Yards don't win games. Points win games. Don't matter how you get them. I mean, it's great for Zach to inflate his numbers, which there's a lot of arguments going around saying that his ego is the reason we lost. Because he chose to take the sneak. Now,
there's a video saying like where you can see the hole before the play goes off.
So in Salah's press conference, this play is actually drawn up to be a quarterback sneak, but only if the defense show you the sneak.
And they did. They showed a hole in the A gap.
If the sneak's not there, it's a handoff to Berrios, and he goes around the outside and he gets the yards. The coaches said, Salah said that was a handoff no matter what, but we didn't do enough to communicate that to Zach, that that's a handoff no matter what. He went, that's on us. He ran the play exactly as designed. How can you be mad at that?
You can't, can you? That's it. He's made the decision. Okay, it turns out to be the wrong decision, but if you watch the play, as Kane says before, there is a video online showing it as well. The defensive tackle isn't in the A gap covering between center and guard, which is exactly where you run a quarterback sneak. If you go back and watch Tom Brady over the last 20 years, the master of the sneak is the A gap. Just find it and just go. Whichever side he isn't, go. They just collapsed it way too quick for him, which was a shame.
You can do that with the size of their line.
Yeah, and sneaks go wrong. We haven't got the best guards in the world. We haven't got the best O-line in the world at the moment with the backups. And even the best occasionally drop sneaks, even with the greatest lines that you've seen Brady have over the years, he still fails occasionally.
Just never against us, but we digress. We'll move on. One thing to defend Zach on this thing with his ego. Has anybody seen the interview where they ask him what the best play he's made is? James, you've seen it?
No.
So he said it was the pass to the O-lineman last week is the best play he's ever done. He went, because I let somebody score who never scores. He went, it's one of those plays, he went, you run it and you run it and you run it in practice. He went, you never think you're going to use it.
Yeah.
He went, so that's the best play, he went, because he works to do that play. He went, and he works hard. He went, and now he got his glory for it. Yeah. Fair play. The kid doesn't have an ego. I think the longer he plays, his decision making will get better, where he will change his mind depending on what the coaches have said. He will go to a second option.
I also think, let's be honest, they're saying about his ego. Who wants a quarterback that hasn't got an ego? When was the last time you saw Rodgers or Stafford or Russell Wilson without an ego? You want a quarterback that goes, we need to win this game, give me the damn ball. That's what you want. You want him in the fourth quarter when there's 2 minutes left going, oh, don't worry about it, coach. Let him take a knee in the end zone on the kickoff return. I want the ball at 25 and I'm going to march this thing the length of the field and score. You need an ego. You need the bollocks.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not worried about Zach. I mean, I think we've been all pretty much pro Zach all season because it's a learning season. Offensively, let's talk run game. We put 150 up against one of the best rush defenses in the league. James, what you thinking about rushing?
Pretty good in general, man. Real shame Carter went out. He probably had a real chance of breaking that 1,000 yards if he didn't go out, especially after he popped that long one. But still didn't really drop off. I do like Walter, to be fair. A couple of good efforts, and Ty Johnson with a big touchdown as well. So yeah, it's looking good, man.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Walter. It looks like he's kind of solidified that number 2 role. What do you think of him, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, probably what we need as well. Someone is solid like that, for sure. So yeah,
I mean, he's not a big yardage kind of guy, but he's definitely that power that we need. How are you feeling on the run game? Zach obviously had 2 carries, Kane.
Mhm.
We know you want to unleash the legs, but he got 0 yards. Rush game, what are we thinking?
I wouldn't mind. Ty Johnson had an all right game. I wouldn't mind putting Walter at 3rd running back instead of him, because I think Ty Johnson's due to become free agent this year.
Restricted
Potentially,
or free agent, one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the list for a bit.
If we keep Coleman or get someone in the draft, I'd rather, but keep Carter at 1, obviously. But yeah, can't complain when your one goes out and you still put the good numbers on it. Water looked good, had the burst and just kept fighting for yard, did some nice cuts. It was good.
How about you, Otis? How are you feeling on it?
I think the creativity in the scheme is now starting to show in terms of the run game. That's the bit I would say. I actually don't think it matters now on the back. We are getting to the point that San Francisco have where the back doesn't matter. As long as it's one of 3 or 4 guys that's athletic enough to make plays, it's about the scheme. The offensive line finally looked like they've got the run blocking now. And all of a sudden the benefits of the zone scheme are showing. As Ken just said, there was some good cuts by Walter. There were some nice long runs the last couple of weeks by Carter. Coleman's looked effective. Ty Johnson is able to gain yards. It's just getting to a point now where we need somebody that's got mediocre talent. If the line's understanding the scheme and doing what they're supposed to creativity-wise for gaps, then I don't really think it matters now. The benefit we're going to have, I think, is Carter next year, provided he stays healthy, will comfortably be 1,000-yard back and probably a 500-yard receiving back as well. I think he's going to be one of the really good running backs in the league, and probably for quite a long time if he can stay fit, which is huge because it just means you can take these undrafted guys or 5th or 6th round guys to back him up and take a veteran if you want to. There's going to be veterans that come out in free agency, people like Philip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon potentially, Marlon Mack from Indy, 3 guys that have been lead backs at some point and could easily come in and back Carter up and have got the talent as well as the athleticism to do well in our scheme.
Yeah, we only have 1 running back hitting free agency this year, and that's Ted Coleman.
Yeah.
Who, like you said, you can get a veteran on a 1 year for relatively cheap. And the running game is exactly what you said. We are at that point where this year we could take a 6th rounder like what they did with Mosa, who I think was an undrafted free agent. If he fits what you do and he's athletic enough, he's going to make plays. But we have Johnson, we've got Carter, who are both great in the run game and the passing game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset to add another, but I think Walter has kind of got that, and I think P. Ryan's probably on the pieing pony.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I mean, it's a shame, but it is what it is.
But it shows what the NFL is now, doesn't it? It shows that backs are 2 a penny and every college produces 3 every year. And most of those 3 from every college are feasible. There's not really ever a shortage of backs in the NFL, is there anymore?
Yeah,
okay, there's a shortage of elite ones.
If anything, Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott should go in the Hall of Fame for destroying the running back position, because no running back is ever going to get paid now because of them 2.
Well, Todd Gurley.
Yeah, but I mean, at least we got a few more years out of Todd.
But not after he got paid. He was
Yeah,
only good when he was on rookie deal and then done. Richardson that the Browns took right at the top of the draft, flopped completely. Sorry?
McCaffrey, yeah, I'm pretty sure. See.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give him till next year. If he doesn't perform next year, you kind of got to go, yeah. But, yeah, he's due a payday, I think, as well. And it's like, can you take the risk and pay him?
Yeah, the other one as well is Dalvin Cook. Obviously, I think Has he been paid now, or is he paid
No,
next year?
I think he's been paid, but yeah, Dalvin Cook and myself are no longer talking. He cost me fantasy football in a money league. Not happy. He had his worst game of his career fantasy-wise. How is that possible when he's had games where he scored 0 points? But on a game where he's played a percentage of snaps, he had his worst game ever. So, yeah, we're not talking about it, guys. We're not talking about it. Right. Quickly on to the O-line, guys. Obviously, the O-line was a casserole of nonsense. At no point do you expect to lose George Fant, which, by the way, is getting a second opinion on a potential ACL, which, if it is an ACL, he will not be back until October. So he will miss all of camp. He will miss the start of the season. So that if George Fant's out, tackle has to be number 1 pick.
Yeah, the kid from Alabama's coming.
You've got Becton coming back. We don't know what we're getting.
Yeah.
And I think next year as well, we have to decide. Is it Becton's 3rd year next year, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of next year, we've got to be thinking, do we extend?
Yeah.
I think we get a 5th-year option on him. Do you really want to pay him a left tackle 5th option? It's a lot of money. Got to give a shout out to the man, Dan Feeney in centre. I mean, if anything, right, Dan Feeney this year, I think he cost us three million, I think, with 500,000 in incentives. I would pay that again for him next year to be a backup guard and backup centre, because McGovern is out with knee, I think. Knees and centres don't go well. It doesn't. They don't often come back. What else are you thinking about the line? We'll go to Kane first.
Feeney got a 93 running grade, yeah. So that's nice. I know AVT got the best grade on the team out of anyone, so you can't complain at that either. So yeah, it's a good game for the line, considering all the outs.
James?
Yeah, kind of echoing the same sentiments, really. Adoga's still a bit of a stinker, to be honest. But apart from that, it was all a pretty solid performance.
Yeah, I would say Adoga's probably a breather tackle. You know, when one of your tackles has been plummeled, they need one play out. You can bring him in and you know he's not going to balls up. But if you put him in for a series, you're done. Scott, how are you feeling on the O-line? Because,
I think, well, again, Sunday, I mean, you know, it was, I'd say, you know, from previous games, great. And then looking at the line again, I keep reflecting this season, because obviously we're only 1 game away from in the end. But you know how the improvement has been there, and you know, we can turn up, and when we have got the potential to turn over the bigger teams as well, which is great. So it's not just like, you know, teams we should be winning against. It's the teams who are sort of the ones that come to us and should be turning us over. So it's good to see that we are covered in that way, in terms of we can, you know, be that team, especially with our O-line, defensive line, all across the pitch, really, that we can have that potential to turn teams over.
Otis, you mirroring everybody?
Yeah, fairly happy with the O-line. Very pleased with Dan Feeney's signing, as I was in sort of free agency. Thought he fit the scheme very well. And that sort of showed, I think, the zone blocking worked really well for him. And again, a lot like we were talking about with the sort of D-line and with the O-line and the run game before. The scheme isn't, I don't think it's a problem. It looks like we've got a good scheme. They're getting open. They're making run lanes. They're able to pass pro. If we can just get them all on the same page and get them all healthy, I think we've got a really good shot at it. I really would draft the guy from Alabama. Evan, is it? I think if you take him, he plays right tackle if Fant's not back. He plays left tackle if Becton's not back. And if both are back, by some miracle, he plays guard.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
don't think it's a
you
huge
just
problem.
swing them all around and just have a free for all.
Yeah,
Like,
I think it's fine.
yeah, I think we've all made very big deals of the O-line, but the development this year with the injuries and the movings, I'm hoping to God that Fancy is just a strain.
Yeah.
Because he's been unbelievable. Feeney has been quality over his 2 games at centre. AVT, I mean, the guy's a Greek god. I mean, I'm even thinking about getting Vera tattooed on my arm. But we look at that and then we go into receiving, which, I mean, when you look at it, we had no one on that field. In the grand scheme of things, obviously we know Berrios is having a season from heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably made a deal with the devil, just like Nemeth has for this season. But other than that, we had Yabor, we had Cole, who has been like intermittent camping water all season, got a bit tepid and then went off. Dan Brown, Jeff Smith, and we had Carter for half a game. And Ty Johnson. Yeah, like you're talking 2 running backs, a practice squad tight end, probably 2 practice squad tight ends, if we're being honest, and one of them put themselves out for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that kind of shows you why Dan Brown got dropped. Like, what was he playing at? Why do you do it? Receiving wise, Otis, what are you thinking about him? Like that game in general and going forward?
I think it's shown that we've got some decent depth there because some of the guys were able to make some catches and sort of get open occasionally and make a few plays. But I think overall it just shows that, once you lose 1, 2, and 3 in the NFL, you're really in hot water. It does give me a lot of hope going forward, though. I think that if Zach can hit 200 yards worth of receiving out of them guys, if you get him some decent weapons, he should be okay.
Scott, what were you?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same there. I think something we need to certainly invest in the close season, just so we have got sort of areas where Zach, like I say, is targeting and can catch and really make the break off it. So I think that's gonna be a sort of someone we can really literally take aim at and go from there.
Cool. Ken?
Draft wide receiver 1 in the first round, please. I'm just going to keep saying it.
Yeah,
Olave.
I mean, I'm not against it.
Give me Olave.
Yeah, all day long.
We need that constant weapon every game that will stay healthy. And,
Well, it gives you what Tennessee had when they drafted Brown as well. You've got Olave paired with Davis, providing he comes back fit and healthy, and then more in the slot. Fine, carry on. Let's go.
Yeah, and then you've got the rotation of extras.
Yep.
Berrios in the 4th spot.
Yeah, and it's an interesting route of we haven't had that for such a long time.
I think the last one we had was like 1.5. Was at Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker. They were like starting-ish.
Yeah, even then I think that was more they were a victim of a good team.
Yeah.
The best pair for definite for me was San Antonio Holmes with Braylon Edwards and Jericho Cotry. That was the last time we had 3 receivers that you went, any one of these guys can catch this ball and it's going to be sound.
That was a long time ago.
Mark Sanchez, season 2 or 3, when we went to the AFC Championship game in 2009. Was that season 1 for him or season 2?
2009, 2010-ish, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
James, have we spoke to you about receivers yet?
No, but similar thing, really, mate.
You're just like, nah, move on.
No, but what I would say is to sort of point that the best offenses in the league all have a number 1 weapon,
Yeah.
And I know Vikings don't win many games, but they do put up a lot of yards, and they've got some great receivers. So that and the case with the Bengals and Boyd, all them, but we just beef up the core for him these next couple of years while he's on the contract.
Yeah. What are we thinking about Kenny Yabor? Now, obviously, this is the first time he's been in a game where he's actually saw targets, where he hasn't been just in as a blocker.
He's not a tight end at all.
What was that?
He's not a blocking tight end at all.
No.
He was quite bad at blocking, but catching, like 2 catches for 36.
Yeah. 18.
And he only had 2 targets, so he hit everything that was thrown at him, he caught.
Yeah, and he caught 2 of them really well. Like they were contested.
Yeah. I'd be happy to see him back next year for sure. And I think you've got to look at him. We talked about it on the last video, I think. Play him as the flex tight end. If you're going to keep 2 tight ends, keep one of the guys that can block, whether that's re-signing Croft or whatever we decide to do, and flex him out. Play him like Kansas play Kelsey and Kittle and Miami with Gesicki. Just flex him out. Put him 5 yards off the end of the line and go, right, put a linebacker on him. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to keep Yabor. I had a quite high grade on him in the draft last year. I had him as a 3rd round tight end, and he went undrafted. So yeah, I'm always gonna kind of be on his side because he did well. But yeah, I'm kind of in agreement of we either bring somebody in free agency, Yabor, Westco, because of his fullback abilities and blocking, and then maybe one other just as a utility, just to kind of rotate it in. I'd be happy with that. There's a lot coming on to free agency. Not many that I would want, if I'm being totally honest.
No, and the ones you want are the expensive ones, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Some of them are a bit too old.
Yeah.
Like when you look at the big names coming on, Jared Cook, Jimmy Graham, Rob Gronkowski, Zach Ertz, they're all old. So
there's a lot better ones than that coming out, though.
What was that? Sorry.
There's a lot better tight ends than that coming out.
Oh yeah. I just looked at the list and went for the ones at the top. But yeah, I think all in all, we saw positive moves this week. Special teams were very good. There was no stupid penalties on special teams, I don't think.
No.
In fact, we only give away 2 penalties all game.
Yeah, it was a good game of penalties.
It's the first game I've seen this year where we give away less penalties than the opposition. 1 turnover each, which, yeah, I can forgive that.
Yep.
We held them to 62 yards rushing, but I think, Otis, you're right on that. Some of it was down to the fact that they were running Le'Veon Bell. We know it's never going to end well. Now, just before we sign off, guys, James mentioned a massive weapon. So we do have to talk about the massive weapon. Obviously, I'm talking AB, Antonio Brown. I'm going to pick on AJ Brown then. I feel really bad now. Quickly around, do we think it's mental? Do we think it's pay? Do we think he was just doing publicity? What we saying, James?
The sad one. I think there's definitely mental issues there. I think without a doubt, the way he was acting, like when he was out of the league, he was acting like a crazy person on social media.
Yeah,
I thought he turned it down. But kind of just sad to see because they were going to go on another run this year, and he could have probably just sailed off into the sunset and I don't know, retirement.
Yeah. Oh, it's what you saying?
Yeah, mental as well. Unfortunately, I think the hit from Vontaze Burfict, 2016, has really messed Antonio Brown up. We mentioned it in our admin chat. I think, unfortunately, the results of whatever tests are run on Antonio Brown, probably after he's passed away, unfortunately, will be too late to help him. But hopefully, it might help somebody else. And I don't think it's going to be great news for the NFL either, because that hit was awful. And I think the tests that are run on Brown, when we do get some definitive answers from those tests, are going to not be great for the NFL.
Scott?
Yeah, absolutely agree with Otis in there as well. The tests aren't going to be that great at all, and it's going to probably will tarnish the game massively. It's how it's played and things like that. But again, it is a mental thing. You can look at his past. It's not something that's, it's can be fixed, I'm afraid. It's not something you can return back from. Fifth club, there was issues at college, then personal life as well, which are probably well documented and everyone knows about. Unfortunately for Antonio himself, I don't think there's any chances that can be given back to him to resurrect a career somehow. Unfortunately, that's it, and it's sad that the way he acted and performed, especially in front of the crowd, children, people, idolize someone on the pitch like that is absolutely disgusting. And unfortunately, people out there, but maybe he hasn't got the help he needs. Unfortunately, how many chances has he had and to address it if it was the case? So unfortunately, that's him gone.
Kane?
I'm on the fence. I think it might have been to do with the pay a little bit, and then it's just he's got pissed off and gone off the pitch because of that, and then it's just made him look like he's got problems. Like, you don't know, do you? You don't know what's going on. No one does. Arians could have been lying about what he said, and just don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not going to judge anyway. Look, it's one of them things you can't do anything about it. So
I'm kind of the same as you on the fence, because
nobody knows.
Yeah, one of the things coming out today is that Arians asked him to go in, but he hurt his ankle.
But why would he do that if he was due $1 million if he got so many more yards?
But he's saying that his ankle wasn't good enough to go in to run on. When he's walking off, I watched it back today because I was like, I'm pretty sure he's doing jumping jacks.
Yeah.
But he did favour his right foot and held his left foot slightly off. And then when he's going off, he is hobbling. So I'm like, oh, maybe he does have an ankle problem, or he's just got a dodgy walk. I've never really looked at him walk off. And then to launch a music video the same night and to say that he's got a Netflix documentary coming out, you're like, it's almost like he's done it all. And when I've got a Netflix documentary because I'm a bit crazy because of the NFL, I'm going to upset the NFL to get a bit more hype. I'm going to bring out a song because I can, which, by the way, is terrible. I'll put it in the admin chat in a minute. It's awful.
His music is awful in general.
Yeah, I mean, at least Le'Veon Bell's was half decent.
There's like the other things as well. He was at the Nets game as well on the night of that. So I think all the intentions were clear that he was there. He probably had his hookups of that evening to stay in the city.
He ordered the celebrity Uber from the stadium. And the celebrity Uber was putting it all on his story. So all that night, you could literally just go and watch all of the Antonio Brown show. And it's like, he does deserve a Netflix documentary because the guy's just off the rails. Like, get him on it and sort his life out. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's that you request app where you request a celebrity to say something. So he was filming cameos in the back of that cab after the game afterwards, and you can watch him on the internet. Wow. Roethlisberger stays at Pittsburgh. He's a great quarterback, and he's just done that half an hour earlier.
Wow.
What were you going to say there?
I got one thing just to circle back to quickly, and it's only come to me after we started talking about other things. Offensive line-wise, we were all talking about how good Vera Tucker was. Going to be interesting to see if Fant is out, if they make the decision to play Vera Tucker at tackle. Did it at USC, and if they think Adoja is a liability to Zach on his blind side, I would be all up for seeing what Vera Tucker's got a left tackle for a game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're going to be going up against the Bills' second string. I mean,
nothing to lose.
Yeah. No.
I think it's an interesting option in order to get him a better tackle. Like tackles, you can see a guard, but you can't see a tackle. So maybe that's an option.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all up for it. It's going to be an interesting game. We haven't really talked about it. We won't really talk about it because, I mean, we've even been flexed because it's that of a non-event game. But we will be back next week, guys. We will have content coming in the off season as well. Mock draft Mondays are starting soon, much to Otis's delight. But as always, thanks for joining us. Give us a like, a share, a follow. Keep James busy, and we will speak to you all again soon.